order. Sergeant at Arms will please secure the chamber doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, this morning, Senators, we have the Reverend Dana Edwards from the Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church in Bethesda, Maryland, guest of the distinguished senator from the 18th District. Please rise for the invocation.
Good morning, everyone. I invite you to center yourself for our prayer this morning, to feel your feet on the ground, to lower your gaze, soften your gaze, and perhaps close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, as we begin our moment of prayer and reflection. Holy One of many names and beyond naming, as we gather in this hallowed building to do the divine and sacred work of living our democratic principles, bless us on this day. Help those doing the grueling daily work of democracy remove self-interest and call on community. Remove ego and invite humility. Remove rigidity and invite compromise. Empower those in this chamber striving to live up to the ideals of our democracy, to embody servant leadership exhibited by the prophetic people found in so many faiths, to show grace and understanding to themselves and to others when they fall short of their ideals, and to always begin again in love when discourse becomes fractious. Guide the hands and hearts of these legislators by reminding them to put a face, a name, a story to the business of this day. Help them to hold in their hearts the vast diversity of this great state of Maryland. Help them remember the heron in the wetlands, the hawk in the forest, the oysters in the bay, the single parent using public transportation and working 2 jobs to make ends meet, the immigrant family starting a new chapter of their lives, and the families who have lived in this land for generations. Help them to remember the farm workers, the factory workers, the retail workers, the office workers, the healthcare workers, the first responders, the commuters, the telecommuters, and the grandparents in the assisted living facilities, and the toddlers in the daycares, and all the beautiful and complicated and complex identities that these stories and these individuals carry. May we all be good stewards of the resources of our great state and be grateful for the many blessings of this land and these people. In the name of all that is holy and sacred, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you mentioned, Reverend Dana Edwards is from Cedar Lane Universalist Unitarian Church in my legislative district. Mr. President, the governor yesterday talked about a culture of service, and so often when I'm out in my community and volunteering with people at soup kitchens or food pantries or vaccine clinics, the other volunteers at those institutions are disproportionately members of Cedar Lane in Bethesda. So I'd like to thank the Reverend and move that her remarks be journalized this morning.
Certainly. Thank you, Senator. Thank you. We will, without objection, journalize the Reverend's wonderful invocation this morning. Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Senator?
I'd also like to announce her children who joined her here today.
Wonderful.
Teddy, age 6, Chloe, age 11, and Naomi, age 16, joining their mother here this morning.
Welcome. We're so glad you all could join us. Wonderful. Excellent. All right. Has everyone recorded their presence in the chamber? It appears so. All right. The clerk will take the call. With 42 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is now in session. Actually, let's do this first. Let's do. We have a football team joining us. Senator from the 44th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. if I might ask, is there anything with decorum? Now, I went to Poly, so I know you weren't allowed to put hats on in the building.
Unfortunately, no hats or symbols in the Senate chamber.
Very good. Thank you very much. That's why I asked. That's why I asked. So first of all, I want to welcome during redistricting, Milford Mill became a part of District 44. This Milford is not only one of the jewels of District 44, it's also my wife's alma mater. So I want to welcome Milford Mills Academy, their football team, as well as head coach Reginald White. Milford Mill Academy won the Maryland State 2A championship over Kent Island, 25-16 this last fall. They're also with Assistant Principal Ms. Proctor, and I would just ask us all just to give them a warm welcome.
Excellent. Would ask the clerk to read the resolution in full.
Thank you.
Be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to Milford Mill Academy football team. In recognition of your winning the 2022 MPSSAA Class 2A State Championship, we applaud your outstanding season and wish you many more. Congratulations.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. Gentlemen, from the Milford Mill Academy football team, the Senate of Maryland unanimously celebrates your 2022 MPSSAA Class 2A State Football Championship. Congratulations. Excellent. Welcome, enjoy. I think you all are headed over to the House now. I think they're doing, you came to the upper chamber first, across the hall. Hopefully it's, semi-enjoyable or, not too painful at least. And we're going to make sure we're matching that on the field and off the field. The beauty of student athletes. Congrats. Who was the championship over, did we say? Kent Island. Oh, 36. That's why the senator's not here today. It's too much shame for... Oh, there you are. Whoops. It was funnier when you weren't there. Excellent. All right. Chair recognizes the senator from District 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today we have down what's called Lead Maryland. It's a 2-year fellowship that's put on for the agricultural community. They go around the state for 2 years learning different issues, impacts regional. One of the weekends or their seminars are spent down here in Annapolis. They're here today. They've been here for the last 2 days, and I think today or tomorrow's their last day. And it ends with a capstone project where they go to a different country. I was a graduate of Lead Class 4. We went to China. This one will be heading to Panama and Colombia.
Wow.
So Lead Class 12 is here above me in the balcony. So they're from all over the state. The chances are your constituents are up there, so if you get a chance, say hi to them, and I think they're going to be meeting with the Senate President after session.
Exactly. Excellent. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. I look forward to touching base after session. Congrats. Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from District 6.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Today I'm going to introduce Dylan, Hannah, and Emma visiting from the 6th District. They will be going around throughout the offices and dropping off some of the material from the Maryland Retail Association and also learning about the process and legislation. We would like to give them a warm Senate welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Do we have any other? Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from Howard County.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you'll join me in welcoming and thanking Dr. Lorelei Ma, who is a radiologist. She's the doctor of the day. She's a radiologist in Howard and Baltimore counties, and she is the past president of MedCot.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for taking care of us today. Chair recognizes Senator from District 18.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two announcements this morning. First, I hope you'll join me in welcoming my constituent, Ross Feldner. Ross Feldner is an accomplished graphic designer, a precinct official in my legislative district, and a fierce believer in the power and progress of Wheaton, Maryland, which is where I grew up. Please welcome Ross Feldner in the gallery.
Welcome. Chair, can I Senator from Prince? One more from the.
My apologies. Also joining us in the gallery, as you know, Mr. President, our building is very accessible to citizens who want to watch democracy in action. There's an organization that makes sure the third branch of government is just as accessible and that our courthouse doors are open. That is the Maryland Association for Justice, who is also joining us in the gallery today.
Wonderful. Excellent. Welcome. Great to see you all. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate your work. Chair, can I Senator from Prince George's?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask that you all join me in welcoming one of my favorite people who are here today, the Clerk of Court, Mahasam Alameen. She's our Clerk of Court for Prince George's County and is doing a fabulous job. And we want you to know that we deeply appreciate every single thing that you do for the citizens of Prince George's County. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Chair, can I Senator from the 33rd District?
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wanted to welcome two members of my staff. As a new senator, one thing I've really learned is just how critically important your staff are and how essential they are to making us all look good. So I can't see them, but I believe they're directly above me. But I'd like to welcome my legislative director, Spencer Dixon, who grew up in the 33rd District, graduated from Severna Park High School, later attended George Washington University, where he obtained his bachelor's degree in political science, his master's in public policy. And I'd also like to welcome Emily Ulizio, who is an intern in my office. She's a sophomore at Washington College, where she is studying international studies and political science. So please give them a warm welcome.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work. Thank you. Yes, Chair, recognizes the Senator from the Lower Eastern Shore.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. We have constituents from the Eastern Shore that rose very early this morning to be here in Annapolis. First, would like to introduce Lena Williams from Somerset County, and she is the widow of slain Correctional Officer Greg Collins, and was here to testify on a special death benefits bill this morning. And she's... She is also here and supported by her friends from Somerset County, and they include Somerset County Commissioner Daryl Webster, who is retired, Maryland Division of Correction, 30 years. Daryl, if you'll wave. And also Ronnie and Jane Dryden. They are also retired Eastern Correctional Institution leaders there. Ronnie is the retired deputy warden at ECI, and his wife, Jane, 31 years in procurement at ECI. Wow. And so I appreciate that they rose at 4:30 a.m. this morning to join us. Thank you.
Thank you,
and Mr. President, I also have a group of students who made it up from West Ocean City, students from the Seaside Christian Academy. Excellent. If they'll rise with your leadership.
Wonderful.
Thank you for joining us here.
So glad they're here.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair, recognizes Senator from Frederick County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to recognize today we have from Frederick County our 7-term Clerk of the Circuit Court, Sandra Dalton, and her Chief Deputy, Gloria Lewis. Thank you for coming them.
Welcome. Welcome. Great to see you all. Thank you for being here. All right. Any other introductions? Any other introductions? Any other piece of business before we jump in today? If not, so be considered the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. Our first order of business is the introduction of bills. We have a lot. This is calendar 18. Clerk will read the bills.
Senate Bill 415, Senator Clausmeyer, Group Health Insurance, issuance to trustees of fund, multiple employers, finance.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. We have Senate bond initiatives, calendar number 13. Clerk will read the bond initiatives.
Number 1, Senator Jennings, Cowington Ridge Park Turf Field, Budget and Taxation. Number 2, Senator Jennings, Rockfield Manor Community Enrichment Venue, Budget and Taxation.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the legislative bond initiatives. We will refer those to the Capital Committee. We have a second reader report from Budget and Tax. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 32, Senator Brooks, Property Tax Exemption Dwellings of Disabled Veterans, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore and Hartford counties as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill deals with the veterans right now in the state. Somebody who is 100% service-oriented disabled can get a property tax credit. And to do that, you got to have your what's called your DD 214, as well as the certificate from the VA claiming that disability. Sometimes it's been a problem getting that second document, that certification. What this bill does is it expands that you can also provide another piece of documentation, which is the actual rating that somebody in the military person goes through to determine whether or not they are 100% disabled. So we had committee, no question, or there was actually one amendment. I'm sorry, got sidetracked here. The amendment does add co-sponsors, because who wouldn't want to be a co-sponsor of this incredibly great bill? So with that, Mr. President, I move favorable on the bill as amended.
All right, the floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment, the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 32 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 55, Senator West, Maryland Estate Tax Portability Time Period for Election, favorable.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we have an estate tax in Maryland, and there's a certain amount of your estate that is exempt or excluded from that tax. When one spouse passes away, they may have not used the full value of that exclusion. And then there's a time period where you can, as the second spouse, the living spouse, can bring that in and use it for the remainder of the estate. And this is very simple at the end of the day here, in that all we're doing is conforming that time frame for the person to take that election from 2 years to 5 years, simply because the federal government just moved it from 2 years to 5 years. There are no amendments. Move favorable report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? All in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 55 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 61, Senator Bailey, Property Tax Credit Public Safety Officer, favorable, one amendment.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 61 is identical to a bill, Senate Bill 132, which we passed unanimously last year. This allows local branches of government to redefine the way public safety officers is defined, and it removes the tax credit that used to be $2,500 to allow them to give the amount of tax credit that the local governments want to. There was one committee amendment that included all the members of the committee. I move for the adoption of the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. On to the amended report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 61 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 70, Senator Kramer, Income Tax Subtraction Modification State Law Enforcement Officers, favorable, one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 27th as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 70 expands eligibility for the existing subtraction modification for law enforcement officers who reside in political subdivisions with specified crime rates to include state law enforcement officers who reside in these qualifying political subdivisions. The bill takes effect July 1, 2023, and applies to the tax year 2023 and beyond. There was one committee amendment to add sponsors. Move adoption of the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor Leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 70 is ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 152, Senator Augustine, bond sales notification of the public, favorable.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. All this bill does is that the treasurer has to give public notice when bond sales occur. And for a number of years, we've been using the municipal market monitor. However, in law, it had been listed as another entity that doesn't even exist anymore. So we're just correcting that.
It's a complicated
Move favorable report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 152 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 175, Senator GUZZONE, Maryland School for the Blind Public School Construction Program Eligibility, favorable, one amendment.
Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the Maryland School for the Blind, folks might know, is not part of state government. Actually, the Maryland School for the Deaf is, but the Maryland School for the Blind is a nonprofit entity. I'm actually the Senate's designee to that body, to their board of directors. All this does is allow them to continue in a process that we created a number of years ago. Back in 2012, we decided that they should also participate in the public school construction program through the IAC process. And there was a sunset on that, and we're removing that sunset so they can make their plans and do what they need to do to keep that school going in a good way. So move adoption. One amendment that adds sponsors. Move adoption of the committee report and the amendment.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment, the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 175 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 205, Senator King, Education, Libraries Funding, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 205 corrects a drafting error in chapters 496 and 497 of 2022 and codifies the intent of the General Assembly to provide enhanced funding to local library systems as enacted last session. Committee amendments, there is one amendment that adds sponsors to the bill because we're B&T and we add sponsors to bills. I move adoption of the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the committee amendment is adopted. On the favorable report is amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 205 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Just want to appreciate the floor leaders today. Great explanations, gave us the great background, kind of a sense of where the bill was. Just appreciate the reports today. All right, let's go to our next order of business, which is executive nominations. Clerk will read the report.
Report number 1, the Senate Executive Nominations Committee reports favorably on the attached gubernatorial appointments and recommends the Senate of Maryland advise and consent to these appointments. Pamela G. Beidel, Chair.
All right, question before the body is, will the Senate advise and consent? Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The list is on your laptop, your floor list. If you look on the upper left, it's under other business. So if you want to review that, it was 15 district court judge appointments that executive noms moved favorable. And Mr. President, I'd like to hold it over until Monday, please.
Excellent. And we would also like to do it in open session on Monday. Move to waive the rules to do it in open session?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. All right. The chair moves to special order the nominations report until Monday and waive the rules for the consideration in open session. Are there any objections? Without objection, so ordered. We'll take it up on Monday. And just as the kind of background note there, in our Senate rules, executive noms technically is supposed to be done in executive session because it's a personnel record and it's people's reputations on the line. And so it is common practice now that we waive that rule, although the default is that it be an executive session. So particularly with nominations, as we always try to do, we want to be mindful that it's somebody's reputation on the line, and so there may be reasons that someone doesn't support an individual, but we want to be thoughtful about how we approach that, given the beauty of social media, and once it's out there, it's always out there. So just think about that as we move forward. All right, one more piece of business. Let's do a quorum call before third reader.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 45 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. This is Senate third reading calendar number 2. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill number 80, Senator Bailey, Natural Resources Blue and Flathead Catfish, Finfish, Trotline License Establishment.
Senate Bill 80 is on third reader for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 80, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 127, Maryland Longitudinal Data System Center Student FAFSA Data Reporting Requirement.
Senate Bill 127 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 127, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, Senators, the desk is clear. Desk is clear. We're getting into a rhythm. We're getting there. Let's start with Chair of Finance. Committee announcements.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Finance Committee will meet at 1 p.m. today for bill hearings, followed by a brief voting session, 1 p.m.
All right, 1 p.m. Chair of Education, Energy, and the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Education, Energy, Environment will have a briefing on Chesapeake Bay restoration efforts at 1 p.m., followed by bill hearings. We've got 3 bills immediately after the briefing, and then finally, immediately after the bill hearings, we'll have a short voting session. Thank you, Mr. President.
Excellent. All right. Chair of Budget and Tax.
Thank you, Mr. President. All 3 of our subcommittees will be meeting today to review their respective budget areas.
Excellent. Very good. Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Judicial Proceedings Committee will meet today at 1 o'clock for bill hearings. We have 11 bills on the docket dealing with juvenile justice and expungement.
All right. Busy day. Other select committees, standing committees, select committees, delegations, protocol? Chair of the Protocol Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome thank our pages for the week. Very much appreciate them. And then also, we have a birthday coming up, so I would. Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to wish a very happy birthday, to permission to use the senator's name.
Senator may proceed.
Okay, to Senator Brian Feldman, whose birthday is on Saturday.
Oh. Did we miss one?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, I thought maybe we'd missed a birthday. Did we? Oh, no. But yours is upcoming. Okay. We'll have an extra special announcement on Monday.
Mr. President?
Yes, Chair recognizes
permission to use the
senator
name?
from the Polar Bear Plunge painful
That's right.
decision.
That's
yes.
right. Permission to use the senator's name?
Senator may proceed.
Thank you. Colleagues, we had a birthday yesterday that we missed because of the state of the state, but it's very important to us to recognize Senator Mary Delaney James on her birthday.
Happy birthday. All right. Any other announcements? Delegations? Any delegation announcements for tomorrow? No? Okay. All right. We sure? It appears so. Okay. Chair, Baltimore City Delegation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tomorrow morning, the Baltimore City Delegation will meet at 8 a.m. virtually.
8 a.m. Man. We didn't negotiate that one well. All right. Any other announcements? Anything else? All right. Let's do a quorum call before we adjourn.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? Appears so. Clerk will take the call. With 45 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
I hope this is correct. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until a pro forma session, Friday, February 3rd at 11 a.m.
11 a.m. on Friday, pro forma, without objection. So ordered. Have a wonderful weekend for those who will not be joining us in the pro forma tomorrow, and have a great, great day. Yeah, let me do this picture quick.